Move on to critical thinking and argumentation. And this pathway was developed by an organization at Harvard called Thinker Analytics. And we actually have 3 members of their team here today. Nate Oti, who has sort of taken the lead on developing this pathway, and his colleague Aidan Castigian. And we also have Ann Sanderson, who is the boss. So, and she should be very proud of what her team has put together. So I'm going to turn this over to Nate, knowing that he's going to show you some really cool stuff.
Thanks, Joel. I'll just let Ann and Aidan briefly introduce themselves, and then I'll show you guys a little bit about argument mapping.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm Ann Sanderson, and I am the boss. I'm the executive director of Thinker Analytics and a 20-year veteran of high school classrooms. I taught English and theology and came into this partnership with the Harvard Department of Philosophy just about 8 or 9 years ago. But we have really honed in on argument mapping and teaching critical thinking skills for the past 3 years. And I'm going to give you over to Nate and Aidan.
Thanks so much, Joel. My name is Aidan Castigian, and I'm a program director here at Thinker Analytics. I also teach in the philosophy department at Wheaton College, which is a small liberal arts school just south of Boston. And I teach logic and critical thinking, which is exactly what we're here to talk to you about today. So I'll hand it back to Nate.
Awesome. So my name is Nate Oti. I'm a fellow in Harvard's philosophy department, and I'm the lead instructor for Thinker Analytics, which means I get to have a lot of fun creating all the content. So I've already alluded to argument mapping a little bit. I'll just give you guys a quick overview of what that is. There's no way I could possibly unpack it all, but one thing I just wanted to highlight for everybody is there's a lot of research you can find on our website, thinkeranalytics.org. But really, where we stumbled upon argument mapping is it's a method of teaching critical thinking skills that's being used at the university level. And these are all studies where they had students take argument mapping courses and measured their performance on critical thinking tests, and they're getting really overwhelming results. And we work with some of these professors, but the meta-analysis, the sort of punchline is that the average argument mapping course gets double the gains of a standard critical thinking course at college, and 5 or 6 times the gains of a standard semester at college. So that's, if you know anything about education research, that's sort of unheard of. And so we were kind of scratching our heads a little bit too. But now that we've really gotten deep into it, we see why it's so powerful. We really focus on actually teaching critical thinking skills in a concrete, practice-based way. So, every educator will tip their hat and nod and say, yeah, critical thinking is good. We should do that. And most people would like to think that they're teaching critical thinking in some capacity or another, maybe woven into the curriculum here and there, or you ask students to ask a hard question every now and then. But what we've really done is developed a very focused and disciplined way of targeting these skills with this method called argument mapping. So let me show you an example of an argument map. And this is using a software tool called MindMup that integrates with Google Drive. It's a free tool that we show you how to use in our pathway. But these are maps about whether, here's a current topic. Should people wear masks every time they go out in public? So what we've done is developed an argument map on the pro side that everyone should wear a cloth mask, and on the no side that not everyone needs to wear a mask every time they go outside. And so what an argument map has is it has a main claim, and then underneath the main claim are the premises or reasons. So these ones are structured so that they're kind of folded up underneath. So I didn't want to overwhelm you guys, so I kind of folded them up. But you can see you can actually put an enormous amount. These can sort of get as big as you want them to. The important things I want to draw your attention to are that you can have different structures of the reasoning. So for example, these are independent premises because they each have their own support connection here. These are separate reasons to believe, for example, that asymptomatic people should wear a mask. These are co-premises. So these are statements that work together to give one single reason. And we teach you more about that in the course. But the advantage of having students learn to create argument maps is that you can have better class discussions, and you can use this as a basis for planning essays, for example. So one thing to notice is, like, for example, this is a link to a piece of research, right? And you can insert the links directly into your maps. You can also put sticky notes. So here's some discussion questions. Which experts should we trust in a time of crisis, and why? Should we take aggressive, health measures like Korea? And then on the flip side, we've got arguments on the other side that, what if wearing a mask could give people a false sense of security that makes them careless about social distancing? And you could ask students, to discuss that question. Now, what this is it's a representation of what an argument looks like, but you can also use argument maps to evaluate whether an argument is any good. So let's say I think this is a particularly strong reason. I can actually indicate that I think it's strong, right, by like making the support connection thicker, right, or thinner. And then I can actually like label it as well. There's some other functionality. For example, if I think this premise is false, I could change the color of it, right? So maybe I think red if I want to say that it's false. And again, I can attach a sticky note to give my evaluation of it. The point is that you can see how this is a really useful tool for teachers to be able to have a discussion with their students, or to have student-led discussions. The other nice thing, of course, is that this works really well in a classroom. You can project this on a board, or you can do exactly what I'm doing right now, which is just screen share in a remote learning setting. So given the sort of lack of clarity about what things might be looking like in the fall and the spring, we're very excited that argument mapping is going to lend itself really naturally to either a classroom setting or the remote learning setting. The last thing I'll kind of throw out there is that we've also designed a lot of practice exercises, both for teachers to take in this pathway, as well as for students to do on their own. So here, for example, this is a puzzle skeleton where you can have all the claims, and then the students need to work together in small groups to piece together the puzzle. This one is about whether Congress should grant citizenship to DACA dreamers. But you can see there's the scaffold here, and then students are trying to figure out how does the argument fit together, and we've got solutions. So that's one example of a kind of activity you can have students do where they're building those critical thinking skills. And we really believe in practice reps. So here's a different type of practice rep. This is these little baby arguments, and then students need to decide, are these independent, sub, or co-premises? So what's the argument structure? And then we have teachers work through some of these in our pathway as well, just so that they can improve their own skills and then be more effective with their students. These are exercises where you're evaluating the quality of the argument by deciding if the support connection is strong and deciding if the premises are true. So I'm just giving you guys examples of different types of practice reps that really build those skills, because we really believe that you're not going to get better at any skill just by watching it, right? Like if I just go watch people play basketball, or like see some lecture videos about basketball, I'm not really going to get better at basketball unless I just do a lot of drills. And we think critical thinking, and the research shows that that's how critical thinking works. It's like an instrument. It's like any other skill. It's practice based. So again, we've really taken pains to structure our. I guess I'll stop screen. Just a quick plug for checking out the research on our website. It really is pretty impressive what other folks are doing with argument mapping, and that's why we're excited to bring it to the independent school context, especially for K-12. So you can see on Joel's slides, we've got 6 milestones laid out in our pathway. The first few just introduce you to the basics of how to map and evaluate an argument. And then 4, 5, and 6 are for teachers to apply that to their practice. For example, with helping students create essays and do peer review, peer feedback, and structuring a class discussion. And there's a capstone project there as well. So I think that covers most of the high level stuff. And I'm super stoked to answer any questions you guys might have, or nerd out about the details, or chat with folks after this call, or shoot me an email or something like that. So thanks.